Hey everybody, welcome to Water Walkers. Let's talk 2023 football season for the Pac-12 top four teams. When I was going through this, I was pretty excited because last year Pac-12 finally gave us an exciting season with parity and all these great quarterbacks in the transfer portal that built the Pac-12 offenses that we get to enjoy. And I was like, well, what if they're one and dones, right? What if these quarterbacks came here and they're not going to come back, like Michael Penix Jr. or Bo Nix. And what about Cameron Rising? Is he going to stay or is he going to go? I mean, he won. There were so many questions at the end of the year. Like, is this going to be, Caleb Williams coming back? He won a Heisman Trophy. But the truth is, they all came back. And so there's a lot of excitement coming on this year as well when it comes to the Pac 12. And then you have Deion Sanders becoming the new head coach for Colorado. He gets rid of all these players, brings in all these transfer players, brought over players from Jackson State, including his son, to be the quarterback. I think I think Pac-12 is going to be pretty exciting this year for the second year in a row. I think they're going to take a little bit of a hit, losing USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten next year. So they are going to take a little bit of hit, and I'm sure that Coach Deion's excited because that's two less people he has to worry about to try to compete for a championship. And plus, there's going to be losses like Cameron Rising ain't going to stay after this year. He's got to go. Michael Penix Jr. won't be here after this year. You also got DJ moved over from Clemson to Oregon State. Will he be able to perform better? Will he be able to go into this system and show everybody the kind of quarterback he truly is? I mean, he was a top quarterback coming out of high school, and he just didn't live up to it in Clemson. Maybe he lives up to it in Oregon State. So there's a lot of excitement with quarterbacks over there when we're talking about the top four. Who's going to be our top four? And it was pretty tough. I'm thinking to myself, does DJ come in and continue to add on to Oregon State? Oregon State's a tough team. They're not just some pushover team, You got Deion Sanders, is he going to be able to come in and make an immediate impact to competing for a championship? I think he believes he can, and I think he's teaching his kids they can, and I think they're going to be very competitive. I really, really, really do. I think there's going to be a little bit of shock how many Florida people he's got and everything when that cold starts kicking in. I mean, Colorado cold is different than most colds, right? I just don't think they're going to be prepared for that. And also, they have a tough schedule. They truly, truly, truly have a tough schedule. Playing TCU right off the bat in Texas, that's going to be a tough game. I got TCU third in the Big 12, but I think they're very competitive. I think they're very dangerous, and I actually got them winning that game. And when you get hit in the mouth like that, that's when we're going to see what this team's all about in Colorado. Are they going to sit back up and continue to do what they were doing, or are they going to stay laid down and their confidence going to be beat? I just don't think their confidence is going to be beat under Deion. I think they're going to have a pretty good season. They're going to have a lot better season last year. I can almost guarantee it. I mean, you can't really do too much worse than that than not winning a single game. So I look forward to it, but they're not going to be in my top four. I think Oregon State has a better season this year, but they're not going to be in my top four either. My number 4 team, I'm going to actually put Utah in there. I'm putting Utah in there because Cameron Rising came back. I love this kid. I think this guy is just absolutely a phenomenal leader, great quarterback. He's a competitor, and I think he makes things happen. Listen, Utah won the last 2-year Pac-12s, right? They won in 2022. They won in 2021. They went to the Rose Bowl. They competed against Ohio State. It was an exciting game in 2021. I really feel like this team is on the right track to continue to be competitive each and every year. But leadership matters, I think, in college football. I believe when you have young players, as young as these guys, some of these guys are playing college football that still should be in high school, right? When you have great leadership and you have veteran presence on that field, I think Cameron Rising fits that bill. And I think he's what makes that offense click this year. I think they're going to be competitive. I think that they're going to fall short. They have a little bit of a gauntlet going through there in their season when they play USC and I think they play USC and Oregon like back to back. Let's see here. So they play USC. For some reason, it's not one to pull up. For some reason. So let's see here. Okay, here we are. They play USC and Oregon back to back in October. That's a tough. That's a tough road. I mean, you're gonna get. You're gonna. I think they're gonna lose one, maybe even both of those. And it's not saying that they're not good enough to win it. I think they're going to compete really well against Oregon. But if Oregon establishes the run game against them, I think Oregon controls the ball, they control the time, and they can win that game. And I think they're going to have a fight, and they're going to give everything they got against USC because USC remembers what they did to them at the end of last year. So they're going to come out swinging. And sometimes when you get through one of those battles, you almost need one of those mediocre rest games to get back up, and they don't have it. So they're going to have to go from battle to battle. And then they get a little bit of a break in Arizona State, and then they got to play Washington, which is another really good team over there. So they're going to go through a little bit of a gauntlet. I think between those three teams, they could win 1-2, but I really think they lose two out of three of those. And so that's why I got them where I have them. I got them at 4. I think they just fall short, but I do think they're very competitive. I think they're going to be very exciting, and I'm looking forward to watching Utah. My number 3 team is Washington. Michael Penix Jr. came back. Gunslinger, he has a big arm. He's very excited to watch. I think Washington has a complete team, and they're going to be very dangerous. They're actually my dark horse to compete and maybe even win the Pac-12. But I just think that they don't have as much of talent. And I also believe that they're going to be – I think they're going to be right there in the mix for it. But what gets me is when you look at their schedule, so Washington, they're going to play Oregon. This is what actually helps them. And this is why I'm nervous. They play Oregon, but then they have Arizona State and Stanford. So they have time after Oregon to get back on there. If they come out with that win, that's really good. They come out with that win, they're rolling because I think they're going to blow through Arizona State, and I think they're going to blow through Stanford. But then they play USC and Utah back to back, so they also have this little gauntlet of back to back in their schedule. But not only that, they play Oregon State right after that. And everyone thinks Oregon State's not that good, but trust me, Oregon State's going to be competitive. So now you're playing USC, Utah, Oregon State, and then you play your rivalry in Washington State. So that's 4 games I think is going to have to be their best ball to get through this gauntlet. And I just don't think they make it all the way through. I honestly think they're going to lose 2 or 3 games in this season. But they also play Michigan State at Michigan, and I think that's going to be pretty tough as well. So they have a pretty tough schedule. That's why, because of their schedule, I don't have them number 2. I have them number 3. But it's not because they're not good enough to be the second best team in the Pac-12, because I truly believe they can. I just don't like the schedule that they have. And that's why I actually picked Oregon to be the number 2 team. Oregon, again, got the quarterbacks coming back. Bo Nix, I didn't think he played very good at all at Auburn. I thought Bo Nix was a horrible quarterback at Auburn. And maybe it's just my opinion. But I thought when he went to Oregon and he lost against Georgia, and I'm like, oh, here we go again, right? But no, he picked himself up, became a leader, turned this game around. Now, listen, Oregon was one of the best run teams last year, and they were very dangerous in the run. And I think they're going to be dangerous in the run here. Oregon has established their name in this. And with multiple running backs and quarterback and whatnot, I believe when you can establish the run and you have an aggressive defense that is ball hawks and they can take the ball away and they can get those 3 and outs, it's very tough for a team to get back into the game if the defense is complementing the offense and the offense is running time down and controlling the game. And Oregon is dangerous in that. I truly believe it is. And because they're so good at running the ball, sometimes they can get their opponents to fill the box up, that's loaded up, and Bo Nix can throw it down the field. If you give him a one-on-one shot with his best receiver, he's going to take it 9 out of 10 times. So I just think they play the game really well. I think them and Washington are pretty close as in talent-wise. I think either one of them could actually show up and do something with USC and with Utah as well, and to be able to compete for this championship. If it wasn't for the scheduling, I would actually have Washington over Oregon, but because of it, I actually have Oregon over Washington, and this is why. Listen. They play Portland State and then Texas Tech. Texas Tech ain't a pushover, right? Texas Tech is pretty good. But then they have another break and they play Hawaii. And they have Colorado after Hawaii, which is fine because they have time to get everything fixed. They're not really worried about Hawaii, right? And they got that. Then they have Stanford. Not a problem. I think Stanford's always a competitive deal when it comes to the trenches and everything and the run game. But I think, they'll have no problem getting through them. And then after that, they play Washington. So they have their tough game again in Washington. Then they play Washington State. And then they play Utah. You see the pattern? Then they play California. And then they play USC. There's always that game after their tough games to give them a little bit of adjustment time, a little bit of a breather time, a little bit of putting some ice on the black eye kind of time. And I think that actually helps them in their scheduling to allow them to be better than Washington and to be the number 2 team. And I know a lot of people might not agree with me on that, but I just believe it's the reason why I picked it, and I believe it's in their favor because even after USC, they play Arizona State, which I don't think Arizona State's that big of a competitive team, before they play Oregon State. Like, they don't play any of the best teams without playing one of the mediocre teams right afterwards. And that actually helps when it comes to scheduling. And, Texas Tech isn't going to be a world beater either. I think they're going to be dangerous. They're a little bit of a dark horse in the Big 12. So if they sleep on them, they're going to get bit. But I don't think Oregon's going to sleep on anybody. I think Oregon's going to be wide open and prepared and ready to come out here and play some football. So that's why I got them there. And then I'm going to go my number 1 team. Everybody knows number 1 because it's going to be number 1 on everybody's poll is USC. They got Caleb Williams coming back, the Heisman Trophy winner, another quarterback. Pac-12's loaded when it comes to quarterbacks. Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., you got Ryzen, you got DJ. You got these guys are loaded. And yeah, I know Sanders wants me to say his son's name, but I don't think he's earned that right. You didn't play in a Division I Power 5 conference when you're out there winning and in the low bowl. You did win some games. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to try to take anything from them. But to me, it's like prove yourself, right? You're not playing one game out of the year that's a tough game. You're playing every single week in a Power 5 conference. This is a little bit different. And I'm not trying to disrespect. Don't think I am. I just say show us, and then we'll say, okay, you're the man. But you haven't, so I'm not. But USC is absolutely the best team in the Pac-12. Absolutely. When they go to the Big Ten, it's gonna bring great competition in the Big Ten. They're getting rid of the East and West. There's gonna be no divisions. It's gonna be the best versus the best when it comes to and I think USC is gonna be right there fighting right along with Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State. And who knows? Maybe Michigan State gets back in it as well. I think it's going to be pretty strong this year, and Wisconsin's got a great future as well. So when these guys go there, it's going to be great. But they know that they need to go out there and try to win a championship in the Pac-12 before they go there. Because guess what? Even as good as they were last year, even having the Heisman Trophy winning team player on there, and even though they were close to making the playoffs, they did not win the Pac-12. Utah beat them. Again, you got to come out here and do something if you want to be known as one of the great teams again. Now, you made a strive. You have a top coach, probably a top 3 to 4 coach. You have great talent on this team. So here's your opportunity to show us that you are that team. Again, they play San Jose State, Nevada, Stanford, Arizona State. Before they play Colorado, which I think they're way more talent Colorado has, even though Colorado has talent. If Colorado they get together and they start gelling, it's a dangerous team. I think in the future, Colorado is a dangerous team if they can keep this thing going. But I just don't think the year 1. And then they play Arizona. Honestly, when you look at it, they're 6 games. Colorado might be the toughest game they have. And I don't think they're tough enough for them. And then they play Notre Dame. Now we're talking, you're 6 games in. You know who you are. You fixed it. You got your kinks worked out. your identity and who you're going to be this year is already there. Now you're playing Notre Dame, which is a very tough team, I think, this year. I mean, Sam Howell's going to be absolutely game changer over there. So, no, I really think they have a great running back duo over there at Notre Dame, so that's going to be a tough game. And then they play Utah. So here's your little gauntlet right there. They have those two teams that they have to go. They have to make it through there. But even if they don't make it through both of them, and say they lose one, right? Maybe they lose one. They then play California before they play Washington. So they have that little break, right? Here's the other problem. They play Oregon right after Washington. So here's the second gauntlet. So there's a chance if they beat Washington and Oregon and Utah and Notre Dame, they're going to the playoffs, right? But when you look at this, Notre Dame, Utah, Washington, Oregon, UCLA, which Chip Kelly's got UCLA playing a pretty good game out there. They're just not a pushover. It's a gauntlet in the second half. They have an easy first half, gauntlet in the second half. I don't think they come out 100% clean on here. I think they lose 1 to 2 games on here. I don't think that Notre Dame game is a give me. I think USC has more talent than Notre Dame does right now, but it's not a give me. They're going to compete. There's a rivalry, right? Rival games, anything can happen. So I can't just throw that out there as a guarantee. I got that one. It's got to be pretty close. I'm not going to say who's going to win that one yet. I think they beat Utah, though. I think they beat Utah because they're angry with Utah. And when you get an angry, vengeful team, they're going to win. But I also think they beat Oregon. I think Washington might be a bit of a challenge on them. So 1 to 2 losses, I think that USC will go off of. They'll try to fight for a playoff spot. I think they do win the Pac-12 this year, and they go out on high note going into the Big Ten. So that's my top 4. Please comment, like, share, and also don't forget to subscribe. We like your comments. We like your likes. We need those things to allow this to continue on. Let me know where you think I was wrong, where you think I was right, where you agreed with me or disagreed with me. Let's talk about this. I hope you have a blessed and wonderful day. God bless you and God bless America.